We're going to call the meeting to order, the City Council Budget Hearing Meeting of September 5, 2023. Our mayor had an emergency, could not make it, so I'm the deputy mayor. So you got me today? All things in, all warts and all? Okay. All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. And the roll call.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Here.
and Councilmember Tharp,
Present.
and Councilmember Dugo,
Here.
Councilmember Diaz,
Here.
Councilmember Bousquet.
Here.
Deputy Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Did we call the roll?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we did. We need an approval for the agenda.
Motion,
May I have one, please?
motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, we'll move on then to our first budget hearing, fiscal year 2024, proposed budget. But before that, we're going to have comments from the public for agenda item only. If you're going to speak on the agenda, you can take this opportunity to speak now. If not, you could speak later when the item comes up. Hearing no one or seeing no one, we'll move on to the first budget hearing, fiscal year 2024, proposed budget. And so will we have the city clerk please read the ordinance 2023?
Ordinance 2023-11, first reading, establishing a taxable valuation and levying an ad valorem tax on property located within the corporate limits of Green Acres as of the year ending December 31st, 2023, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, we have our city manager and our budget director of finance presenting. You may start.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor, Council. My name is Andrea McHugh, I'm the city manager. With me this evening is Terry Berriger, who is our director of finance. Before I go through the formalities that we have this evening for adoption of the budget, the establishing the taxable value and adopting the budget, just a couple of things. I wanted to thank the council first and foremost for your direction, for your guidance as we've gone through this process. We really do appreciate all that you've provided and offered as part of the budget process. Additionally, want to thank the directors for all that they've done as part of this process, and most importantly, I want to thank our Director of Finance, Terry. We could not do this without her, and she gets us through it every year with flying colors, so we are extremely grateful. And with that, we are back again. We did have several meetings leading up to this, going over the budget for fiscal year '24. I think it's just easier as we go through this process. I am just going to pretty much read all of my comments because there are parts of this that do have to go into the record as required by Florida statutes, so it's easier if we read it. We're going to go through pretty much the majority of the language on the first ordinance, which is ordinance 2023-11, and then when the council gets to 2023-12, there will be a limited amount of information that I'll provide then because I've provided most of the information leading up to this. But Florida statute section 200.065 specifies the procedural steps that must be followed by each unit of local government in the preparation and approval of the government entities' property tax millage levy and annual budget. In accordance with these regulations, the certified taxable property values as of July 1, 2023, provided by the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser, will be used to determine the ad valorem tax proceeds in the calculation of the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Taxing authorities must hold 2 public hearings to adopt a millage rate and a budget. This evening's hearing is the first public hearing of the City of Green Acres to adopt a tentative millage rate and budget for fiscal year 2023-24. The tentative millage rate and the budget must be adopted by separate votes. Pursuant to direction provided by the City Council at the budget workshop held on July 17th and the budget meeting held on August the 12th, staff has prepared 2 ordinances required by the truth in millage process for approval by the City Council. The ordinance to establish the taxable value and set the ad valorem, Ordinance 2023-11, must be passed first, followed by the ordinance to adopt the budget, which is Ordinance 2023-12. The first ordinance, 2023-11, establishes the taxable value and sets the ad valorem rate. The certified total taxable value of $2,888,498,573 provided by the Property Appraiser's Office is $351,009,664 more than last year's certified taxable value of $2,537,488,909. The 13.8% increase in taxable value is due to an increase in property values along with an increase in new construction. The millage rate of 6.300 mils applicable to the general fund levy for fiscal year 2024 is 12.37% greater than the calculated rollback millage rate pursuant to Section 200.0651 Florida statutes of 5.6067 mils that generates the same amount of property tax revenue as last year on existing real and personal property. The property tax rate of 6.300 mils set by Ordinance 2023-11 would generate $17,469,639 of ad valorem revenue, or $2,101,793 more than fiscal year 2023. The proposed ordinances set the total millage at 6.3 mils and appropriate $63,712,887 for the operating of the city's fiscal year 2024 budget. The first budget hearing was advertised in preliminary tax assessment notices as required by Florida Statutes 200.65. The second hearing to set the millage rate and adopt the fiscal year 24 budget is scheduled for September 18, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Green Acres City Hall and will be advertised in newspapers that has local circulation in the city. Staff is recommending approval of Ordinance 2023-11.
Thank you. I see we have a public hearing, so we'll go to the public hearing first. I'm opening this meeting to the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance can come up and give their name and location address. Seeing no one coming up for that, does anyone want to speak against the ordinance? You may come up as well. No one came up. I close this.
Motion to approve ordinance 2023-11.
Second. Excuse me.
All right, we have a motion and a second for a public hearing ordinance 2023-11. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have 4, and myself, 4-0 in favor. Okay. Let's go on to public hearing ordinance 2023-12, and I would leave that in the city clerk to
Okay.
read the ordinance. Thank you.
Ordinance 2023-12, first reading, adopting an operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023, and ending September 30, 2024, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you again, Deputy Mayor, Council. The only thing that we wanted to add for the second ordinance 2023, it adopts the operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023, ending September 30, 2024. The proposed budget appropriated revenues and expenditures from $73,013,015 in fiscal year 23 to $63,712,887 in fiscal year 24. Again, the proposed ordinances set the total millage at 6.300 mils and appropriate $63,712,887 for the operation of the city fiscal year 2024 budget. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2023-12.
Thank you. Again, we'll open this to the public, have a public hearing. Those who want to speak in favor of it, please come forward. Seeing no one, those who want to speak against it, please come forward. No one's come forward. We close that to public hearing. I will look forward to a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 2023-12.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
5. 5.
Yes, you're able to vote as the deputy mayor, so 5-0. I think just to clarify as well, for 2023-11, you were voting in favor of that one as well, deputy mayor? Okay.
It was 5-0,
It'd be five.
yes, okay. All right, we will close that to public hearing. Let's go on to item number 3, which is special business. Will the city clerk please read the proclamation?
Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Green Acres proclaiming September 2023 as Hunger Action Month. Since 1981, Feeding South Florida has worked to end hunger in the City of Green Acres by providing our community in need with immediate access to nutritious food. The City of Green Acres is committed to supporting Feeding South Florida. Together, we can achieve a hunger-free South Florida. Therefore, the City of Green Acres do hereby proclaim September 2023 as Hunger Action Month in the City of Green Acres. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Hillary Gale here, the director? Would you like to come up and say a few words? Thank you. And we will present you with a proclamation.
Hi there. My name is Hillary Gale. I serve as the Director of Client Services at Feeding South Florida. And I just wanted to say thank you to the City Council for accepting this proclamation. Feeding South Florida is a regional food bank as part of the Feeding America network of 200 food banks across the nation. And we serve Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, and Monroe County as the leading domestic hunger relief organization serving over 25% of the state's food insecure population. So thank you so much for the support, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 4. Would the city clerk please read the proclamation, please?
Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Green Acres proclaiming September 2023 as Firefighter Appreciation Month. Fighting fires is one of the most hazardous professions requiring physical strength, intensive training, courage, endurance, and a selfless concern for the welfare of our citizens. In addition to their daily service to our communities, firefighters throughout the state and across the nation have joined the Muscular Dystrophy Association for the past 65 years in fight against neuromuscular disease. In honor of the efforts of the Green Acres firefighters, the Muscular Dystrophy Association is sponsoring the Green Acres Firefighters Appreciation Month. Therefore, the City of Green Acres do hereby proclaim September 2023 as Firefighter Appreciation Month in the City of Green Acres and thank all of the firefighters of Green Acres Fire Rescue for their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Brian Ford, Fire Chief, presenting.
You're gonna have to get close.
Don't worry about about me. I'm usually out of it all the time.
We're gonna need some more in the front. I'm not gonna be able to go that way. From the, yeah, probably from, right behind you.
Item 12, and the next meeting report.
That's
Okay.
it, yeah. Mm.
Fine. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, thank you. The next item is our consent agenda. When our council gets back, we'll get a motion on that.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Oh,
And a second, okay. I hope the city clerk is recording who's making the motions in the second.
Yes.
Yes, good, thank you. All right, all in favor of the consent agenda? please?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's 5 in favor, okay. We will now move on to the regular agenda. And the first item that we have is a quasi-judicial public hearing, Resolution 2033-16. So would the city clerk please read that resolution?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, hope you can hear me. If I may,
Yes.
sir, I just want to remind the council members that this is a continuation of an earlier quasi-judicial hearing. So all of the evidence from the last hearing carries over into this one, but I would request that we swear in all the witnesses again today, and also that the council members be polled as to ex parte communications in the event there were any between the last hearing and this hearing.
All right, we'll do that. If I miss anything, please bring it to my attention.
Yes, sir.
So we will have people swear in if.
I'll read the ordinance, the resolution first, and then I'll swear them in. Is that okay? Okay. Resolution 2023-16, approving the petition of a special exception to allow a fast food drive-through restaurant in a commercial intensive zoning district located within the Riverbridge Center on the southwest corner of Forest Hill Boulevard and South Jog Road, as requested by the petitioner Andrew Savage, agent for the owner Publix, providing for appeal of conflicting resolutions and providing for an effective date. Those who will be providing testimony, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, and do we want the council to swear in as the attorney suggested? How should we word that?
If we could poll the council members as to ex parte communication.
All right, we'll start with Jonathan.
No communication.
John. I didn't have any.
None.
No communication? None.
All right, so it's official that we've had no communications with that. So we'll let Denise Malone, Director of DNS, consult.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and council members. Yes, as indicated, this is a continuation from the last meeting. We do have a presentation that the applicant would like to provide as additional information from last meeting. Thank you. I would just like to say, as staff, we did have meetings with the applicants and have been discussing the concerns that council brought up at the last meeting, and would like to further discuss those tonight. So with that, if you'd like to go forward. Nicholas.
Yes, good evening. My name is Nicholas Haygood. That's NICHOLASHAGOOD, presenting for Bowler on behalf of Publix. Bowler is located at 1900 Corporate Boulevard Northwest, City of Boca Raton, Florida, 33431. As many of you recall, this is a project that was presented at our hearing on August 21st. All of the original slides from that presentation remain, but there are a couple of additional slides that we've added in to address some of the concerns that were brought up at the last city council hearing. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, this is an aerial image of the northern half of the overall plaza. I've got the land uses of each of the outparcels along the north side of the plaza called out there. So as you can see, there are a couple of QSRs with drive-throughs, a couple of banks with drive-throughs, a couple of sort of fast casual restaurants, as well as an urgent care. And also shown on this plan are the two driveways where we expect the majority of the traffic to be coming to the site. The full-service driveway on the north side from Forest Hill Boulevard, and the right-in, left-in, right-out driveway along Jog Road. This is the first of the slides that we've added to this presentation. This is the existing approved overall site plan. This is the latest approved site plan, and it was approved in January 2017. As I have called out on this plan, there is an approved 3,320 square foot bank with a drive-through in the parcel on which we're proposing a Chick-fil-A, as well as a 4,800 square foot QSR. And just to be clear, QSR stands for Quick Serve Restaurant. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the correct page with that. So it's a fast food restaurant. So the parcel that you see in the bottom right of this slide, south of the Truist along the east side, is actually approved for a 4,800 square foot QSR with a drive-through. We wanted to bring this up just to demonstrate the fact that if Publix was just trying to take the easy way out and skip a couple of steps and get a fast food restaurant in this plaza as fast as possible, then they could have just gone directly to building permitting with that site. But after taking a look at it, Publix had concerns about how that might impact the traffic in the plaza, given that it's just doesn't really allow for a whole lot of queuing space. And so for that reason, they didn't want to move forward with that, and they wanted to relocate that proposed QSR to the parcel on which ours is proposed. And so just wanted to mention that as an indication that Publix's actions on this project are absolutely in good faith. It's in Publix's best interest for the operations of this plaza to be at their best. They want all their tenants to be happy, and they, of course, want people to be able to get to Publix all right. So we just wanted to bring that up as an indication that Publix wants what's best for this plaza and is sort of willing to work with the city on any way we can make that happen. The second reason why I wanted to show this plan is because one concern that was brought up to us at the last hearing and by city staff in our consequential meetings since then was that it's a little bit tricky sometimes with the traffic entering off of Jog Road, that sometimes when going to Publix or to the other tenants along the Publix inline retail, such as Pete's, which was brought up as a significant concern, that traffic will enter from that driveway and then turn right and go north along that internal plaza driveway, and then sort of take a left across from the existing bank entrance, where that's actually a one-way out sort of design right there. So we're actually looking into some additional wayfinding signage at the entrance to the plaza. As you can see, I've got a couple of locations called out for it, probably along the right side as you enter the plaza, and then possibly across the directly across the internal drive aisle, just so that it's in all the locations where you could see it. And that sign could show Public's traffic should be directed to the left, same as traffic for the other tenants along that inline retail. In addition to that, we're looking into potentially adding some do not enter signs at that drive aisle where people are potentially going the wrong way, as well as a no left turn sign that would indicate as well that traffic shouldn't enter there, just so that we can make sure that the plaza operations are as safe as possible for everybody, because nobody's going very fast, hopefully, down these streets, but it can cause some potential conflicts. So we just want to make sure that the traffic at the plaza is as safe and as controlled as possible. This slide just shows the existing site conditions. That image along the top is facing south from Forest Hill Boulevard, so it's showing the north side of the site. As you can see, and as discussed at the last hearing, the existing landscaping on site is not up to the current code. So we will be dramatically improving the landscaping on site and increasing the density of the trees within those landscape buffers to bring the site up above and beyond the required landscaping to improve the site conditions. And you can see that on this slide on the right side where we've got the landscape plan. So some of the services that we believe this development will provide to the community is the restoration of this site. As all of you know, it's currently just a vacant parking lot. It's too far away from all the inline retail to really be all that useful, so it's mostly sitting empty. So we'll be restoring that site, making it look a lot nicer, with enhancements to the landscape features, enhancements to the lighting. Those enhancements to the lighting and the landscape features, in our opinion, will improve the safety at the bus stop, and will also be providing an efficient drive-through. So we believe that this project will do good for the community in those ways. Our proposed project, as you're all aware, is a proposed drive-through Chick-fil-A restaurant. This restaurant will be available for sit-down and drive-through service, with the option of opening up the dual-lane drive-through for enhanced efficiency during peak hours. And in addition to that, we'll be improving the drainage on site. Our preliminary drainage investigations indicated that there's often some ponding and some standing water on this site. So we're going to be eliminating those conditions. In addition to that, there's currently no treatment for stormwater quality on the site. So we will be eliminating that as well and adding stormwater quality treatment, which means that the stormwater that leaves our site will be, it'll be better, and it will improve the stormwater quality of the quality of the water bodies that it discharges to. These simulations were on the presentation on August 21st. So I'm sure that you recall, what's shown on these simulations. The first on the left side is a single-lane drive-through simulation, and the second on the right side is a dual-lane drive-through simulation. One thing that we wanted to emphasize and just sort of make a bigger note of is that in addition to adding some more queuing spaces with the dual lane drive-through, not only does it add that additional queuing, but it also does increase the efficiency of the drive-through. So it allows for more vehicles to queue, and it also gets them through faster. So the concerns regarding queuing are absolutely understandable. We believe that with these two, this sort of compounding effect of the increased queuing and the more efficient drive-through, that Chick-fil-A has the best system in place in order to manage drive-through operations. So I've started playing the single-lane drive-through simulation, and I'll go ahead and let that run. One thing that you will notice while watching this, and I'm sure it's something that you've experienced in a drive-through before, is that in a single-lane drive-through, if the person in front of you maybe doesn't know what they want when they get to the order window, they can take a while to order. Maybe they have a larger order than you, and it takes a little bit longer. That's a concern with the single-lane drive-through that isn't a concern with the dual-lane drive-through. And as you can see, I meant to point this out before running that, but that chart that's over top of the building in both of these simulations, the text is a little bit small, so it may be difficult to read. but that first line of it where it says drive-through and then the number right next to it is the average time from when a vehicle enters the drive-through to when they are served and leave the drive-through. So that average time for the single lane simulation is about 250 seconds, which is a little bit under 4 minutes. I'll go ahead and play the dual lane drive-through simulation now. And as you can see, if someone has an order that's taking a little bit longer than the other people around them, everyone doesn't necessarily have to wait in line behind them. They can get their order taken and go around. In addition to that, it works the same way if someone has a particularly large order that takes a little bit longer to cook, or maybe they had a special order because of some dietary restrictions or something like that that takes a little bit longer. It means that the food can be delivered to the vehicles that are waiting, and everyone doesn't have to necessarily wait behind one vehicle that has an order that's taking a little bit longer. And as you can see, that number for the average time entering the drive-through to exiting it on the dual lane simulation was 161 seconds, which is about a little bit over 2.5 minutes. So as we can see, we got down from about 3 minutes and 50 seconds to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So it's a substantial improvement in the efficiency of the drive-through. One thing that I wanted to address as well that was brought up as a concern is that, maybe this operates with the dual lanes during standard peak hours, which for Chick-fil-A are typically between 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. But maybe that's not when the peak of traffic is at this Chick-fil-A. If that's the case, they can modify their hours in which they have the dual lane drive-through open in order to ensure that they're addressing the volumes that they're getting at all times. So if they need the dual lane drive-through open for some reason between 3 and 5 p.m. or 7 and 9 p.m., then they're able to modify their operations to ensure that they're efficiently staffed and able to have both lanes of the drive-through open for maximum efficiency and maximum queuing at those times. So the concern over the potential timing, it's still a potential concern, but they will adjust to whatever volumes that they're seeing, and it's going to allow them to better serve the community. I've got on this slide, this is the site plan for the Chick-fil-A that is the closest to our proposed site. This is the Chick-fil-A at Lantana and Jog Road. We chose this one because it's physically the closest to our site. And as you can see, there's only a single lane drive-through at this location, and the total queuing before it begins to back out into the parking lot and block parking spaces is only 10 spaces. So as you could imagine, this may cause some potential issues, and from what we have heard, and I believe what was observed by our traffic engineer, there are some issues with the queuing at this restaurant. We wanted to show this graphically just to demonstrate the increased amount of queuing that our site is able to offer versus what this site is able to offer. So I'll go ahead and show our plan now. I went ahead and overlaid our plan over top of some aerial imagery so you can see what the surrounding things are. So as you can see to the east there's the Applebee's, and a little bit further to the east, there's the Pollo. And I went ahead and numbered the vehicles that we can store in the queue. For the convenience of the council, I ordered it 1 to 22 with using just the single lane drive-through, and then the following 23 to 36 along the dual lane, so that there's no counting that needs to be done or anything like that of those, because as you can see, there's certainly a lot of them. One concern that was particularly brought up by the staff of the city was the potential for the queuing to block the adjacent tenants. As you can see, the queue required to block the first driveway to the Applebee's would be 25 vehicles, 31 vehicles to block the second driveway to the Applebee's, and then 34 vehicles to block the driveway to the Pollo. As you can see, all of that can be stored on site if we utilize the double lane drive-through. We can get to 36 spaces, which really I think helps to aid visually in just how many vehicles we are able to store on site, because it looks a little bit more staggering when you see it backed out all the way out into the drive aisle, and then all of that can be stored on site. So we just wanted to show that graphically because it can be a little bit difficult to kind of just imagine those numbers laid out visually. We just thought it might help to sort of show them graphically instead. And additionally, finally, we heard the council's concerns at the last hearing, and we absolutely took those seriously, and Publix took those seriously. So we've been working with Publix, with their legal counsel, with our traffic engineer, and with the city and their traffic engineer to determine what potential conditions for approval might look like should the traffic be causing an issue. So what we have laid out at the moment, after some coordination with the city and with Publix, is the condition that's shown on this slide, which states the use of the Chick-fil-A parcel shall not cause the queuing of automobiles to occur onto the adjacent internal main drive that would unreasonably block customer traffic of the shopping center as determined by Publix. In the event that Publix determines that automobiles are blocking traffic as prohibited above, then Publix shall use reasonable efforts to prevent such blockage from occurring. Obviously, that's still a little bit vague. We are working actively now to add a little bit more concrete, sort of quantitative numbers that would justify this and sort of strengthen that condition a little bit, but that's the framework that we have in place after having met with the city and with Publix and their legal counsel. So we just wanted to present that as sort of the framework of a condition that we are looking at for the approval. Should the council not feel that should the council feel that it is necessary to prevent the potential traffic issues. And then, as I recall, the staff presentation will occur next, and then after that, if there are any questions, I would be happy to address any questions, as well as our traffic engineer is here, and the city's traffic engineer is here as well. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. As this is a continuation, we don't have any further staff presentation unless council desires for me to go back into some of those items.
You have no
I
further
have-
presentation, okay.
I have a question. Simple question. I like the fact that you added signs. I would like to have a sign added, do not block access to Applebee's.
Okay. Yeah,
Just
and
a simple request.
certainly, yes. That's something that we could probably look into including in the management plan. Just signs that would indicate if
Don't
under
block the dr- yeah.
the circumstance that the queuing does potentially back out of the site, that the vehicles do not block the entrance.
you
and
get
they
pit,
stick to
yeah.
where, yeah. Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's I think something that we could look into
Thank you.
including.
We have another question here.
This is actually for staff, Ms. Malone, with the language that they've put in there with regards to the conditions. Are you comfortable that that's enough to get started, knowing that they have the desire to add more language? Are you comfortable with it?
This is the first we're seeing the actual
Okay.
word to word. It does reflect our discussions and what we've talked about. I believe that we're comfortable with this as a starting point. I do think that it could be, further looked at to add some of the additional concerns, such as specifically blocking the driveways as indicated by.
Follow-up question then for Nicholas. If, between first reading and second reading, how do you think Publix would have that lawyer language more well-defined between now and then?
I do know that it's right at the top of the list of the things that they're trying to get done, given the fact that, of course, they want this store to be there, and they want it there as soon as possible. This Chick-fil-A, I would expect that it's at the top of their list of priorities. As for the time frame,
It's lawyers, I know.
yeah, I can't speak to potentially guaranteeing what that time frame might look like, but based on our conversations, we expect that they would be able to put that together pretty quickly with the assistance of the city.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to put it a different way. At any point, does the city have the authority to shut down the project until corrections are made?
The only remedy we would have, unless there's a specific more specificity in this condition of approval, if that's the route that you take, is our typical code enforcement. That's all. So if it was impeding traffic or causing some issue, with the circulation of the plaza, we may be able to address something in that manner,
Will
but
that be
it would not
visible?
be
I
as
mean,
specific.
Will there be a visible incident occurring that will require action to be taken? I mean,
It would be much better and more specific if we had a specific condition with your, if you go the approval
yeah,
route.
so it'd be better if the city had a particular condition or conditions that they can act on that unilaterally.
Otherwise, we have internal circulation, that the drive aisles are functioning as drive aisles are supposed to function.
That-
But there's that's the remedy that we would have would be through code enforcement.
If I may, Deputy Mayor, that is something that we are looking into, along with Publix's legal counsel, is establishing a concrete, sort of quantitative point at which a action would have to be taken, so that it's not just a vague.
He said, she said, we don't want to go.
Exactly. Publix would like to avoid that as well. We're going to be working on getting something in writing that establishes a numerical condition, a statistical condition that would indicate this is necessary, just so that it's objective and it's not up to any potentially subjective
Let me
matters.
put your feet to the fire. Is that wording gonna be available by the next reading, by the second reading?
So I just want to make it clear too, since this is a special exception and it's a site plan approval for the next item, they are only one reading.
There's
It's only one reading for the special exception.
only one reading for this special exception.
Right. So if
But
you wanted
for-
specific language, it either would need to be
You put
continued
into the
again to a
second-
time certain, or it would need to be provided.
And
For your
that could be put in the next resolution?
No.
No, Deputy Mayor, it's, the council can approve tonight the condition of approval with the understanding that we're working towards that data that defines how Publix would move forward with making any changes to the site based on just working with their engineer, the city's engineer, and working with legal counsel. We can do that, or the council can move this to a date and time certain, which would be the next meeting, to have a more defined understanding of what that data is and, what it looks like before final approval. So those are really the options.
I have a question for you. Are we going to open this to the public?
Yes, this is a public hearing. There would be a public hearing portion of this,
So
yes.
We'll have the public opportunity to speak.
So I just have a
yeah,
quick
go ahead.
question. So I don't want to hear from my neighbors, oh, it's congested, there's a lot of traffic, or you blocked Applebee's. What I would like to know, is it possible, Captain Moore, to report if there are a lot of, or a number of accidents in that area of where Chick-fil-A is going to be built? Captain Moore? Hello? Okay, I know I'm invisible. That's okay. Can PBSO keep the city informed of vehicle accidents in the area of where that traffic will be? Thank you. Okay, I'm good.
All right, so we have discussed it fully.
No.
We have another question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, I have a few
Sorry.
questions. First of all, thank you very much for coming back with some verbiage and for listening to some of the concerns that we brought up. I don't think, I'm going to speak for myself, but I'm sure it'll be echoed. There is no doubt in any of our minds that Publix is acting in good faith and everybody wants what's best for the small businesses as well as for the residents. So thank you. I do have a couple of questions just to clarify things. If we could go back to the moving diagrams?
Yes.
The one on the right. So here's my question with this specific area.
Yes.
On this diagram, it looks like a lot of this traffic is coming in from the east, I guess I would call it, to come in through, into the drive-through.
Yes.
But I feel that the way this one's laid out, what have the traffic studies shown as far as people accessing Chick-fil-A from Forest Hill, where you have both the in right out and in left, and then you're making a left-hand turn to go past the exit and then into the entrance. I just wanted to kind of hear from you, what does that look like? Because it's almost reversed of what this is.
Yes, are you speaking regarding this, if the traffic were to be sort of going out to the west rather than to the east?
Correct. If it's coming in from the west
Yes.
of Chick-fil-A, because we have the entrance at Chase Bank, there's the light over by River Bridge.
Yes.
So they would go beyond the exit of Chick-fil-A to get to the entrance, making a left-hand turn into the entrance. I don't think, and this is actually the next picture I wanted to see, I don't think a lot of this discussion would be happening if it wasn't that those parking spaces that are to the south of the site are angled versus the ones where you see KFC and Wendy's, which are the other two drive-throughs. Those parking spaces from Publix coming out are straight. But these over here, people already kind of have to come out and dart around to try to make that left-hand turn. And I think, for me at least, that is one of the concerns I have. I don't know if additional signage in that area of do not enter or maybe no left turns. I'm sure there's a solution here, and I think everybody wants to find that solution. I know I've heard from several residents, I would love to have a Chick-fil-A, but I'm concerned with the traffic. I have friends in Riverbridge as well who are concerned with those that are maybe going to use that Riverbridge light as a exit to get out of the plaza, making their, wait maybe a little longer. So that is where my concerns come in. At no time, I don't think anybody is saying that Publix is not wanting something that's great. We all do. But I think the devil's in the details, and talking through some of these now and trying to preempt some of these situations from occurring is all that we, at least personally, that's what I would like to come to.
Certainly, yes, and we appreciate these concerns being brought to our attention. Regarding the signage in those in and around those drive aisles that are along the south side of this image here, that are near where our Chick-fil-A is, I think we're certainly open to adding some additional signage and some additional sort of pavement markings if that could help as well, to ensure that people don't end up going the wrong way down these one-ways, because especially with these really long one-way drive aisles, we absolutely understand that that's a concern. So that's absolutely something that we can look into. But yeah, aside from that, I appreciate your acknowledgement that,
We're trying to get there.
Yeah, definitely.
Together we can get there. I mean, and like I said, it's just these little turns coming out to the left. If you've got cars, especially during peak, we like to think that the law of, let's be courteous drivers and one car applies, but I think reality many times shows us differently. So those that are making that left-hand turn into Chick-fil-A are very likely going to have a harder time than those that are coming from the Pollo Tropical side and making the right turn in, which is going to back up right against all of these little, and you see them there, the four little, I don't know what they're called, islands. That's where the cars are going to be trying to turn out. So if we can just figure out whether it's signage, striping, reconfiguration, and then the only other thing is, and I guess it's a question to staff, I'm not sure if there's anything that can be put in this provision with regards to if this traffic affects the River Bridge light and or exit in that area, if there's something that can be added to that verbiage.
We have one more question here. Are you finished?
Thank you, yes.
If I may, Deputy Mayor, I would like to respond to Councilmember Diaz's
Yes,
questions. Regarding that, I definitely think that there may be some additional signage that may be able to help with that, whether that looks like something like signs on each island, do not block drive aisles, something like that. But the condition where we're backing out into this drive aisle and then causing problems for whether that's the adjacent tenants or whether that's with these drive aisles that are coming from the south, That is the sort of condition that would like kind of kick in our potential condition of approval by which there would have to be action taken. And so the goal, of course, is to avoid that at all costs. And that's not something that we expect to be a concern, but if there's additional signage that would make the council feel a little bit more comfortable with what we're doing, then we would absolutely be open to something like that. Maybe that's signage indicating that the vehicles should not queue for the drive-through on the south side of that drive aisle traveling east. That might be a little bit tricky, but there's certainly something we could do to help with this. And we're certainly open to adding a little bit more signage. But as I mentioned, vehicles stacking up along that south side of that drive aisle is the sort of thing that would, depending on the frequency, kick in our condition by which changes would have to be made, whether that's to the operations or to whatever is necessary to eliminate the problems.
Thank you.
We have one more question, and I have one also.
A question for staff.
Oh, I had one.
Do you have one? I'm
Nobody
sorry, I
looks
can't
down
see
here.
you. I'm sorry.
So we've got the special exception, we've got the site plan. The next step would be permitting, is that correct?
Correct.
So if we were to approve this with the wording, whatever wording that may be, could we structure it in such a fashion that we don't do a building permit until Publix and staff has come to an agreement? And if you guys don't come to an agreement, it comes back before us before the permits? Because I don't want to just leave it out there. I want to set an expectation that, all right, if we go forward and this is the framework and it's vague, we all agree to that, how do we, when it doesn't come back before us for a while, right? Or if at all?
It wouldn't come back.
So how do we then make sure that the framework is acceptable to our parties between now and then without continuing this again?
Perhaps it's the condition that requires the management plan, and maybe that management plan be approved by council. Right now, it's administratively put in there for administrative approval. I don't know if there's any other legal consideration in terms of condition of approval that would remand it back to council.
If I may, Deputy Mayor and council members, I think what I'm hearing tonight is that, can everyone hear me?
Your mic is
I don't think your mic's on.
Let's try this
Oh,
again.
yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay, so I think what I'm hearing tonight is that there are still a lot of things that are undecided. And I'm also hearing that there is a desire to get these details nailed down. And the best, most legally solid way to do that is to have the parties go back and work on it, staff and the applicant, and come back to you with specific language and answers to these questions. Unfortunately, that does require continuing this again to a date certain, but that's the best way of doing it up front, as opposed to leaving it vague and trying to structure a way to come back to bring it before council again. That kind of works against the grain.
Thank you. And while this chart is up, I just want to bring out one point. You have people lining up to the right. How about cars lining up to the left? They'll be coming in from different other entrances. And when they come in from the left, where do they line up? Next to the building or out in the lane that they are legally driving in?
The ideal condition, of course, is that they don't end up backing up into that drive aisle, and sort of that is the reason for the condition that we're working on, is so that if that's something that's taking place, that it gets addressed by whatever means are necessary to eliminate those conditions. As I stated in response to Councilmember Diaz's question, it's possible that we could implement signs on the, along those islands on the south side of the drive aisle, indicating that vehicles should not be queuing for the drive-through along that drive aisle. And if it's stacked up, into the drive aisle, that they then may go around to the other side of the, sort of around the plaza to the other side of the queue. But of course, the ideal condition is that we're not having vehicles stacking outside of the site. So of course, it's certainly a concern, but that is the sort of concern that would ultimately kick in our condition that we would need to mitigate that.
Thank you. We have another question.
I would, my question or statement is regarding that. I would like it to be defined that no cars will be backed up into that drive aisle. It's not acceptable, and it's unsafe.
Certainly, yes, and that's what this condition of approval will address. It will address the concern over vehicles backing up into
Are
the
we still
driveway.
going to have questions from the audience?
So I have,
Well, go ahead. Councilmember Diaz.
I have a question. Or so, I mean,
I'm asking another question. I'm asking, are we still going to have the audience ask questions?
Deputy Mayor, yes, sir. I think we should follow our procedure, which would allow for public comment.
All right, we have a question here from the council.
so this is for the attorney, Ms. Malone, and you, sir. If this is approved, this resolution can be approved based on certain conditions. That if there isn't a problem with the traffic, that it must be corrected? This can be one of the criteria for this to be approved.
So would you like me to go first?
Somebody,
Okay.
want to bring it back.
Council member, yes, I think the issue is this evening, how specific we get with the language. Because I would submit that what is on the screen right now is general, and it's a lot easier to enforce a specific standard and to tie it to specific metrics.
So my question to you is, who will determine that specific language? This gentleman, our staff, and you, correct?
If I may, yes, we would discuss and try to reach a consensus amongst the attorneys and staff, but at the end of the day, it would be the decision of the council to decide whether or not you accept those terms, and that would be voted upon.
And that would be even though this resolution were approved this evening? No.
That would be in the case of a continuance.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
I think it's time for the public to have an opportunity to talk. I'll ask persons who are in favor of the ordinance to come up first. Give us your name and address. Seeing no one coming up in favor, those who would like to speak against the ordinance may have that opportunity. Come up and give us your name and address. And we'd like to have your comments. Thank you. You'll be limited to 3 minutes.
No problem. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My name is Michael Rodriguez. I work with the Wendy's in the corner. I guess the only thing I would say is I get concerned when I start hearing about a lot of signs coming in. Signs are a great partial solution, but as we all know, they don't always work. I could just see somebody going through that do not enter, exit because they were used to going out one way before. I see it in my neighborhood all the time. People don't always honor the signs. That would probably be my biggest concern right now is all the signs that I'm hearing about that could potentially come in and maybe even adding additional, signs such as do not block, do not. Unfortunately, not everybody follows those rules, which leads to road rage, leads to a number of things. So that's just all I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. shall I be impetuous and ask for a continuance vote?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we continue Resolution 2023-16 to the September 18th meeting at 6 PM at Green Acre City Hall.
Second,
All right, a question before we vote on that. Will that include also Resolution 2023-17?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I would request that that be done by separate motion.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. All right, those in favor, did I get a second?
yes.
I did. Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 I see it's 5-0. Okay, so that's passed. All right, I guess I can jump ahead of everything else and ask for a continuance motion on
Motion to,
number 10. All right, who would like to make that motion?
So moved.
So moved, okay, we have a
Second.
motion to have a continuance on this particular resolution, 2023-17. Did I get a second?
Yes.
I did. All in favor, say aye.
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 5 in favor, okay. All right, so that puts it off until next time. Until the segment. Okay. All right, let's go on to item number 11, which is a public hearing. It's ordinance 2023-09, second reading. So with the city,
Yes. Ordinance 2023-09, second reading, amending Chapter 15 Utilities, Article 4 Wastewater Division 2 Improvements to include an additional project at Section 15-95 for expansion of Palm Beach County's wastewater system within the city of Green Acres, which project may be funded by special assessments determined by Palm Beach County, providing for a conflicts, severability, codification, and an effective date.
all right, Andrea McHugh, our city manager, is going to explain this ordinance to us.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Council. This is second reading for ordinance 2023-09. There have not been any changes since first reading. Palm Beach County Water Utilities has advised that the residents within the area of 10th Avenue and West Haverhill Road along Walker Avenue have submitted a petition requesting for Palm Beach County Water Utilities for wastewater services. In order for the county to proceed, the city has to adopt an ordinance granting authorization to the county to undertake the improvement project. 50% plus one of the residents must approve the special exception, or a special assessment, for the project to move forward. The city's planning for, and as you know, the city is planning for a phased septic to sewer project in the original section that would include Walker Avenue, but Walker Avenue is not included in Phase 1 of the project. The first reading of this ordinance was on August the 21st, 2023. Costs associated with this would be funded by special assessments as determined by Palm Beach County and payable by the property owners within the improvement area. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2023-09.
Thank you. Now, it's a public hearing, so I'll go to the public hearing first. Those wishing to speak in favor of ordinance 2023-09, please come forward. State your name and address. No one has come forward. Those who want to speak against ordinance 2023-09, second reading, please come forward. Seeing no one come forward, I'll move on to accepting a motion.
motion to approve ordinance 2023-09.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Aye.
I have 5 people that said aye, including myself. The motion passes. All right, we're going to number 12, which is an item that our Mayor Joel Flores specifically wanted to discuss, and he is not here. So it makes a lot of sense that we postpone this to the next meeting. So may I ask for a motion to
Agreed.
postpone?
It's a discussion, so I think just
Just move it to the next agenda.
move it to the next agenda.
Yep.
Consensus, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Are you making that motion?
Well, I think it's just a consensus. You know, we just have to agree to it. It's not a
Oh,
motion.
I see, all right.
I'm in favor of moving it.
Okay,
In favor.
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 Okay, all right, we're in favor of moving it to our next meeting, okay. All right, let's go on to comments from the public on non-agenda items. Anyone here wishing to speak on non-agenda items at this point? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to the next item. We have a city manager's report next.
No report, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
No city manager's report. Next is city attorney report.
No report, Deputy Mayor.
City attorney, no report, thank you. All right, now we have mayor and city council report. The mayor's not here, so we'll have the city council report. We'll start with Mr. Thorpe.
No report this evening.
Okay, I have no report either.
None?
Just a quick thank you to our city manager, director of finance, and all of our department heads and finance team for working so hard on the budget.
Very good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, nothing, thank you.
Nothing, okay. All right,
Motion to
so,
adjourn.
that concludes our meeting, and the meeting is effectively adjourned. And I thank you for your patience